Imagine a world where the boundaries of the known and the unknown were still being drawn, where the seas were vast and filled with mysteries, and where the line between exploration and conquest was as blurry as the horizon at sunset. This is the world of Ferdinand Magellan, a man who set out to circumnavigate the globe and ended up changing the course of history. But what if I told you that this hero, this daring explorer, was also a man who struggled with his own demons, a man who, in the pursuit of greatness, lost sight of the very principles he held dear? The story of Magellan's voyage to the Philippines is not just a tale of discovery and adventure. It's also a story of human weakness, ambition, and the consequences of unchecked power. In the early 16th century, the world was on the cusp of transformation. Europe was emerging from the Middle Ages, and the age of exploration was in full swing. Magellan, a Portuguese navigator in the service of Spain, set sail with a fleet of 5 ships and a crew of over 270 men. His mission was to find a western sea route to the Spice Islands, but his journey would take him to places and situations he could never have imagined. When Magellan's fleet arrived in the Philippines, they found a land of lush islands, warm waters, and friendly people. The natives, curious about these strange visitors, welcomed the Europeans with open arms. For the crew, this was a welcome respite from the hardships of the sea. But as the days turned into weeks, the discipline that had kept the crew in line during the long voyage began to unravel. Venery, or sexual indulgence, became rampant among the sailors. The native women, seeing the newcomers as exotic and powerful, were often willing participants, but this was just the beginning. The crew also began to engage in other forms of misconduct, such as trading with the natives. This was strictly forbidden, as the Spanish crown wanted to control all trade and profit from the expedition. Yet, some of the officers, including Duarte Barbosa, the captain of the Victoria, were openly bartering iron for gold and pearls. The natives, unfamiliar with the value of these items, were often taken advantage of. Barbosa's behavior was particularly egregious. He was not only involved in illegal trading, but also drank heavily and frequently deserted his post. His actions were a stark contrast to the strict discipline that Magellan had maintained during the voyage. When Barbosa returned to his ship after a 3-day binge, Magellan had no choice but to take action. He was arrested, shackled, demoted, and stripped of his command. This was a clear message to the crew. The rules still applied even in this new and exciting land. However, Magellan himself was not immune to the temptations of the Philippines. As his men indulged in their vices, he found himself drawn to a different kind of excess religion. Since his arrival, Magellan had been consumed by a religious fervor. He saw it as his duty to convert the natives to Christianity, but his approach was far from pure. He intertwined his evangelical efforts with the goals of colonialism, expecting the newly converted to also accept Spanish sovereignty. To Magellan, there was no conflict between spreading the gospel and expanding the Spanish Empire. They were one and the same. Easter Sunday, which fell on March 31st, provided Magellan with the perfect opportunity to showcase his religious zeal. He organized a grand mass on the island of Limasawa, inviting the local chieftains Raja Kalambu and his brother Sayui to witness the spectacle. The event was designed to be a show of power and influence. The altar was adorned with a glittering cross, and Magellan's men, dressed in their finest armor, stood as a testament to the might of the Spanish crown. The native chieftains, impressed by the display, knelt before the altar and participated in the rituals, symbolically accepting Christianity and, by extension, Spanish rule. But Magellan's ambitions did not stop there. He set his sights on Cebu, where the powerful Raja Humabon ruled. Humabon, initially wary of the newcomers, was quickly won over by Magellan's charm and the promise of protection against his enemies. Through his interpreter, Enrique, Magellan convinced Humabon to sign a treaty of peace with Spain and to convert to Christianity. The ceremony was even more elaborate than the one on Limasawa, with Magellan making a grand entrance in a white robe, accompanied by a procession of armored men and the sounds of a military band. The firing of the fleet's cannons, intended to impress the natives, nearly caused a panic, but Humabon's calm demeanor reassured his people. Magellan's success in Cebu seemed to solidify his position as both a religious leader and a colonial ruler, but his actions were not without consequences. By forcing his religious and political beliefs on the natives, Magellan was sowing the seeds of future conflict. The conversion of Humaban and his people was not a genuine embrace of Christianity, but a strategic move to gain the favor of the powerful foreigners. As word of Magellan's activities spread, other chieftains began to resent the Spanish presence, viewing it as a threat to their way of life and their independence. The tensions came to a head on the island of Mactan, where the chieftain Lapu-Lapu refused to submit to Spanish rule. Despite warnings from his men, Magellan decided to lead an expedition to Mactan, determined to show the natives the might of the Spanish forces. The battle that ensued was a disaster for the Europeans. Outnumbered and unprepared for the fierce resistance of the Mactan warriors, Magellan was killed, and his dream of circumnavigating the globe died with him. Magellan's voyage to the Philippines is a complex and often troubling story. It is a tale of exploration and discovery, but also of exploitation and conquest. It is a story of a man who, in his quest for greatness, lost sight of the humanity and respect that should have guided his actions. Magellan's legacy is a reminder that the pursuit of power and glory can come at a great cost, both to those who seek it and to those who are affected by it. In the end, Magellan's journey around the world was completed by his remaining crew, who, after many more trials and tribulations, returned to Spain in 1522. The voyage proved that the earth was indeed round, and it opened up new possibilities for trade and exploration. But the human cost of this achievement was high, and the impact on the native peoples of the Philippines was profound. The story of Magellan and his fleet in the Philippines is a cautionary tale, one that reminds us of the complexities of exploration and the importance of respecting the cultures and people we encounter in our travels.